Alright, to refresh your memory, we were talking about problems that arise from the production of food and trying to meet the needs of the growing population. And we're going to talk about land, water, air problems, problems of life or organisms, and the problem with the excessive energy use. So we talked about land problems first, and I'm not going to refresh that page, but we're still there, okay? So one of the biggest problems from farming is soil erosion. And this is a global problem. It's happening all over the world. And anybody know what two things trigger erosion? Water and wind. Good. It could happen naturally. Water and wind is a naturally occurring weather condition. The problem is that we farm and we loosen the soil by trying to plant crops. So when the water and wind hit the soil blows away. And that's, basically what happens. When the top layer of soil goes away faster than the soil can replenish, this is when you consider loss of arable land or soil degradation program. All right, so there's a picture of areas that are suffering from serious soil degradation, and you see it's pretty much all over. The red is serious concern on the map to the right, and orange is some concern, and very few areas are actually okay. So there's concern all over the world. That's why it's a global problem. How many of you looked at my notes to see if you could find the answer to what makes up soil? So it was there. There are your horizons, O, A, B, C, and I know R should be there, and I'm not aware of D and E, but as long as you had some horizons, I gave you credit. So here's what makes up soil, and all you have to call it is fertile soil, because if you have this and it's in perfect condition, you have fertile soil. So you're going to have decomposition in the top layer, and they call it surface litter, and litter being like plant, leaves or plant decay, and organisms that die and their remains get decomposed. Topsoil is still full of a lot of organic matter, and you're going to start seeing some rock. I don't know what, and there's living organisms like snails, worms, and they also help build soil and transfer nutrients. And then you've got this zone, this leaching word, you're going to learn it when we get to waste. Leaching is nutrients seeping through the soil, through the water cycle. So you know how water kind of takes everything down? And that's how leaching occurs. And then you've got more rock, and that's what you've got, bedrock at the bottom. And if you see these pictures, it kind of helps. So water problems. The biggest problem with water is wasting of the water. I showed you this picture in the beginning of the year, and I showed you how when you use irrigation systems, the water evaporates before it even hits the ground. So that's considered waste problem. Another one is aquifer depletion. We tap into the aquifers to run the sprinklers, so we're depleting what is the water table, so that's bad. It leads to a whole bunch of issues. And then pollution is number 3. If you increase pesticides and fertilizers, the water runs off with those chemicals and ends up in a body of water and can lead to a lot of things like algae bloom or depreciation or degradation of the water supply. All right, so pesticides can pollute water because when they're excessively sprayed or added, water will take them down with them through the water cycle. So that's why it says here it can run off. Okay, or leaching, which is like infiltration with chemicals. All right, air. Oh, I remember today. So air pollution problems, I'm going to pause here because you guys are going to have to do this without me first.